building a business, you need to be learning so many things. It's finance, accounting, raising, how to hire people, how to find a co-founder and whatnot. But I think what I was good at was not giving up. I think if I like something, I want to do something, I stick to it and I try. And I think I'm still very good at doing things consistently. And when you don't have the money, when you're just starting out, when you're just building a business, and you already are doing things outside of your comfort zone, I think that's also a very sad part of a female running a cybersecurity company, because a lot of the decisions that I take, sometimes I have to name it, or I have to say that this wasn't my decision, or a male has taken those decisions, and all of a sudden those things have become really intelligent or smart.
Welcome to the Tech Waka podcast, where we dive into the journeys of New Zealand's top tech leaders. Your host for today is Jakub, bringing you conversations with tech leaders and innovators from across Aotearoa. Join us as we uncover the experiences, challenges, and successes that shape our tech community.
When Ankita Dhakar moved to New Zealand in 2015, she had no background in cybersecurity and no connections in the New Zealand tech scene. Fast forward to today, she's the founder and CEO of Capture the Bug, working with listed companies across New Zealand and Australia to modernize penetration testing. In this episode, we explore Ankita's journey as a woman, immigrant, and non-technical founder in the security space, from building credibility to dealing with loneliness and turning rejection into fuel. She also shares how Capture the Bug is shaking up how pentesting is delivered, real-time, collaborative, and customer-led. If you have ever doubted your path or felt like an outsider in tech, this one is for you. This episode of the Tech Waka podcast is proudly brought to you by Wires Uncrossed, lifting the standard of software delivery across New Zealand, Australia, and beyond. A big thanks to Wires Uncrossed for supporting the Tech Waka mission and backing the voices of our tech leadership community. To learn more, go to wiresuncrossed.co.nz. Hi Ankita, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. It's great to have you here, and it's great to have a founder, a woman, and someone who's based in Hamilton on the podcast. I was fascinated by your story when we met a couple of months ago, and I think it's very inspiring to meet someone like you. Can you tell us a bit of an origin story of you coming to New Zealand, starting a business, and running Capture the Bug as a business?
Yeah, firstly, I should say that I was equally inspired by you, and that's why I reached out to you on LinkedIn. And I was really excited when you responded to my message so quickly, because I thought I'd just reach out and maybe I'll hear back from Jakub, who knows? And I love the work we're doing with Tech Waka, and I thought maybe if there's a way for me to contribute, would love to. So thank you so much
Thank you.
once again. And so a little bit about myself. I originally from India, moved to New Zealand in 2015, came here to study, fell in love with the country and decided to make it my home, and then got married. So how I started Capture the Bug has a very interesting story. I launched my first company, which was security led, in 2020, just before COVID happened. And I think the issue, so security lit is actually a traditional pen testing vendor. We used to do and specialized in penetration testing. But there was a situation when we were working with a SaaS provider in Auckland, and we did a pen test report for the CTO. And the CTO came back to me and said, "This is really great, Ankita, but what we're looking for is, how do you make sure that you identified all the vulnerabilities?" And we both know, Jakub, that we're living in a world where we're making changes to our tech stack pretty much on a regular basis. And pen testing is point in time. So I literally had no answer to that conversation, but that conversation made me really, really curious. And I'm a very inquisitive person. So I wanted to explore options as to what can be found in the market, if there's a way for us to recommend something to them. And I found out that traditional pen testing is still sitting in a decade-old space. Pen testing is still 2012. It's nothing has changed. You do a pen test and the client performs it for you. You do a PDF report, comes back to you. Long story short, I looked for something I couldn't find. And so what I did was, I think late, talking about how I started Capture the Buck. So this was late 2023. I interviewed 43 CTOs and head of engineering across Australia and New Zealand. And I found out that there's a massive gap in the pen testing space. These organizations were wanting more hands-on, real-time kind of pen testing. And I'm not talking about vulnerability scanning. I'm talking about manual pen testing. But there was a lot of elements in the traditional pen testing area which didn't make sense to them. And so we launched the first prototype in late 2024, collected the feedback. It was really good, positive. And then I thought maybe this is it, right? And maybe this is the time for us to move from something that we built, which was my consultancy, to then launch a product into the market. But we're still in the very early stages of our business, but we're very thankful to people who are using us.
What were the key elements for you to get started?
Yeah, so as I said, I'm not from New Zealand. I wasn't born here. So when I moved to New Zealand, I was working for a company that's based in Auckland that used to destroy people's confidential information. And honestly, before starting my first business, at that point, I wasn't very happy with what I was doing. But at one day, I just got curious. What happens if this data gets into the wrong hands of people? And before this, I had no actual exposure to cyber. Like, I didn't know what it was exactly. And so that made me, again, very curious. And I wanted to find out more. COVID happened. I wasn't very happy with what I was doing. I had a bit of savings. And I always wanted to build something on my own. And I thought maybe this could be my first thing where I give it a shot and see if that works, which I think it did. But back then, when I was starting out, again, as I said, someone without having a lot of connections, without any business network, also not having a tech background, no IT security, it was hard for me to find the pathway where basically, I was looking for a role model or a pathway where I could get some sort of understanding how to do this, right? Because building a business, you need to be learning so many things. It's finance, accounting, raising, how to hire people, how to find a co-founder and whatnot. But I think what I was good at was not giving up. I think if I like something, I want to do something, I stick to it and I try. And I think I'm still very good at doing things consistently. I think that helped me. But I think that the constraints as a female migrant not coming from tech was definitely not having the right connections, knowing the right people. The helping hand was missing. So I think what helped me was, because I didn't know what to do, I started sharing cybersecurity trends, data breaches, and I started writing that with my views, like how I look at it. And that really resonated with people. And that was the point where I felt that gave me a bit of confidence that maybe this is an area where I'm good at. So I'm not a pen tester and I have not learned to do pen testing, but I think what I'm good at is looking at a report, helping business owners or potential customers understand what the risks are, what can be the consequences if you don't patch these vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So I think I figured it out pretty early on that this is what my strength is, and that really helped me building my journey as an entrepreneur when I was starting out.
It's really, really interesting to hear that you don't have that technical background. Have you ever had any questions about that from your clients or anyone in the community? And if yes, how did you deal with that?
So many. I think I can still tell you that when I incorporated the first company, which was Security Live, we didn't work for the first year because nobody was interested in working with a founder that didn't come from a cybersec background, didn't have a lot of credibility, and it was a lot of risk to them, which I can totally understand. But I think what I learned early on is having people back me up. There was a guy who I started speaking pretty much on a monthly basis. He was based in Europe. He used to be really experienced person in cyber and IT and sales. He used to work for companies like Intel, Fujitsu, And then I thought maybe if I speak with this person, I would learn a bit and then maybe build a community of people where I can ask them for help. And maybe if they're happy, maybe I can take them to those meetings just to see if that changes anything. So that was me taking the risk, right? And honestly, the start of the second year, I had somebody join me on the call. I presented myself as a founder, but they presented themselves as a part of the company, but bit more technical. I think that gave the potential customer a bit of confidence. I think that's also a very sad part of a female running a cybersecurity company, because a lot of the decisions that I take, sometimes I have to name it, or I have to say that this wasn't my decision, or a male has taken those decisions. And all of a sudden, those things have become really intelligent or smart or whatever. But I think as someone who wanted to build something, and I still believe some people may not like that, which I'm not saying that you have to like it, but for a founder to build a business, to grow a business, I thought that as a good strategy, right? I mean, what else can go wrong? It's still my decision. It's still my thought process. I'm just labeling it with somebody else's name. So that really helped me, I guess. And I think the constraints would still remain the same, but as I said, you have to find the right people. Community aspect is really, really important. You have to keep putting yourself out there, sharing your thoughts. How do you view something? And I think the right people, or the people who resonate with you, will find you. Otherwise, it is already very hard, founder's journey, and not having the right support, the right people would just make it very, very lonely.
I think that loneliness is something you and I discussed when we met a couple of months ago. That was after the episode with Diego when we explored mental health. And I can only imagine that you must have been going through up and downs yourself. And, how would you maybe compare, and maybe how did you manage your mental well-being today versus early days?
I think it's challenging, and I think there were people who I'm not saying that if everybody is like that, but there were a few people who made fun of me. They mocked me because I didn't come from tech and cyber. And then they also made fun of my accent, that I was trying to fit in, and so many things. And when you don't have the money, when you're just starting out, when you're just building a business, and you already are doing things outside of your comfort zone. Me, I'm not a very social person. I am ambivert. I think that's the word. So I'm good at having one-on-one conversations, but you put me in a room full of people where there's loud music, I would struggle, and it just drains my energy. And I think I also did a post on this, I think yesterday. But early on, I would just push myself to be in those events. I wouldn't miss. But then I realized that it's not doing me any good, but it's actually discrediting my strengths, and whatever I wanted to do wasn't happening. I looked at everything was going so negative. Everything that I did, I questioned it, and it was just super hard. I think one thing, and I think I always say that, is you have to be kind with people, come from a place of empathy and kindness. And there were a few people, I think the second year when I got the first company that I work with is also the company that gave me the idea of starting and they've stayed with us. So this company is based in Auckland, and you will not believe how I ended up finding them. So there's this Facebook group called NZ Tech Ecosystem, and this person was, I don't know, they were literally asking about the state of pentesting and how organizations look at it. I gave my suggestions, and at the end I said, well, if you're interested, I would love to collaborate and see if this works out. Next day we jumped on a call. That person gave me my first opportunity, and they are still with us. They work with us. They're also good people in the community. But I think what you have to do as a founder, as a person growing the business, is you have to consistently put yourself out there. Otherwise, you don't know where the next opportunity would come from, right? It's similar to how I reached out to you. It could have been, I mean, what I thought in my head was either you're going to not respond to me, or you're going to come back to me and say, well, Ankita, I don't think we don't resonate, or whatever that is, right? But you always have to ask that question. So I think that I'm getting good at asking the right questions. But I think this is the thing that comes with time. I think I was a natural at it, and I'm just slowly learning and learning. But what I'm trying to do is finding the right people. And as a founder, I'm also very shameless. I just ask questions. If you don't like it, what bad can happen, right? Like you're not going to respond to me or say no. That's fine.
It's like this famous quote from Michael Jordan, I think, who said that you miss all of the shots you never take.
100%. And look, I also get inspired by people who are doing good work. For example, if you're doing this shows me that you care about people, that you care about community, you care about giving back to the community. And I still remember that instance when this person gave me my first chance, but also encourages me to give other people that chance, right? I'm a big believer in karma, and I think if you do this for someone, they're going to be motivated to do some similar or good to other people as well. So it's kind of like a circle, and it you give out good, it's going to come back to you at least. And look, today, I never thought when we launched Capture the Bug that I would work with NZX listed companies, but what we do now. And if I didn't took that leap of faith or questioned my idea, interviewed those people and invested my time, this would have never happened. So I think you have to trust the gut feeling and believe in yourself, I guess.
Okay, so let's talk about Capture the Bug and what makes it special, what makes it different from a traditional pen testing.
When you engage with a traditional pen test vendor, you would start with a scoping questionnaire. They would go back, do the scoping, come back to you. And if you like them, you end up working with them. But the work actually happens in the silo, because for the 2 weeks or the 3 weeks when they're performing the pen test, they're actually not speaking with your teams. Yes, they find something, and for that, they might send you the things on Slack. But apart from that, there's no visibility into what's happening. And also, it's a very, very expensive exercise. And it's still one-off at still point in time. How we are different to traditional pen testing vendors is that when you spend the budget that you have for pen testing, you're not just getting a platform, you're actually making your developers free up their development time. Because what we see in the traditional pen testing space, a lot of the times developers spend their own time and energy understanding these reports, looking at the PDFs, which they take months to action. How we're doing it differently is that, first of all, when you come onto the platform, we give you access to the dashboard where when the pen testers are working, if they find something, you will be notified. We could do Jira integrations, Slack integrations. But the point is that it's real time. So your developers or CTOs or whoever that is can see that the work has actually started. These are the vulnerabilities that we have received. And when the pen test gets completed, you can download the report from the same pen test platform. So it's not just automation. So we're not a scanning company. There are still humans at the back who are performing the pen testing for you, but it just replaces a lot of the monotonous things that we struggle with when it comes to traditional pen testing. The other thing is that when you do the scoping with traditional pen testing vendors, they will give you a quote, which is for a one-off thing. They might charge you a little bit extra for retesting. But with us, you're spending one cost for an annual subscription that might cover your web, mobile, or whatever that is. You decide every month if you're releasing a new feature or you're doing a new integration. You can just simply create a new pen test program. It gets notified to us, and then we start pen testing every month. So you don't have to waste your time looking for the new vendor or even wait for the next pen test, which is due, I don't know, 6 months from now. But now you're taking the chance to go into production without testing. Some of the teams that we work with, and these are really large enterprises, a few NZX listed companies, they use us as an extension of their team. So they don't have the time and the bandwidth to find the vendors, do the scoping every time they release something. So they just come, create the program, and then that's how we just start finding vulnerabilities for them. So more of like, yes, manual pen testing, but also very much pen test management platform. It also has an aspect of on-demand pen testing. At least in New Zealand, it takes around 2 to 3 months to this, which is a lead time to book a pen test provider. None of that happens with Capture the Bug. It is a very simple friendly, cost efficient, smart, intelligent platform that you can use to not just to secure your application, but to know, because all these organizations are now using us have access to dashboard so they can see and track how many vulnerabilities we identified this year, and next year when they're coming onto the platform again, they can compare, right? So the data is with them in one single place rather than doing communications all over the place, emails. The great thing about the pentest, our pentest platform is that you can collaborate with the pentesters in real time. There's so many times that happens is we receive emails or you have to write an email. It's just within the platform, you can comment the pentester that was working on it. You don't have to worry about, oh, I don't understand that. It's just a comment. It's less friction for the company that's paying us to perform pen testing. And we're trying to make it make it more fun, because when I speak to people, they're really horrified when they're approaching the next pen test. So I hope we can make it fun and give them more ROI out of it, I guess.
And that's my experience with pen testing as well. It always takes time to find a vendor. You usually talk to 2 or 3 vendors. You have to meet with each of them. You have to explain what you're after. You have to explain your products, what you want to test. And then you wait for the quote. There's negotiation. It always takes time. And at the end, you just get a PDF report. Maybe you get a meeting to go through the PDF report. And you're left with this list of things that you need to fix. And it does sound, as you said, quite siloed and not much collaborative.
What you just mentioned, within capture the bug, you can track the life cycle of the vulnerability, which doesn't happen with vendors. I think there's so many things. I may be missing so many other great things that we offer to our clients, but I get really excited about every time I speak to customers. We started doing a few pilots with some amazing businesses who now work with us. We're using traditional established vendors across Australia and New Zealand. After seeing the pilot, they were like, wow, this is amazing and we would love to work with you. But the idea is that they were comparing our results with parallelly with the pen testers or the pen testing company that they'd been tied with for years. But what I was trying to say is that if you ever want, I would love to do like a small workshop where I can show your people this is how we do it differently, because I don't want to sound like a salesperson just selling. I actually believe in it, and there are so many amazing businesses across Australia, New Zealand who are using the product now, which I'm really proud of, because it's not just about selling them the product. It's about questioning their thinking. If there's a better way of doing it, are you getting good ROI from your vendor? What are the things that you're asking for? Just today, I was having a very interesting conversation with a Wellington-based company. Unfortunately, they had a very bad experience working with a overseas vendor. I see a lot of similarities around there, because I think a lot of the vendors, or maybe the market is not that educated, but there are some businesses who are selling pen testing as vulnerability scanning. And when businesses are buying pen testing, they're thinking that they're buying pen testing, but it's actually a vulnerability scan done by commercial or open source tools like Tenable and stuff. So I think that is what I'm seeing in the last few days. I'm not talking about the mature organizations. I think that that's definitely the case with the high startups and SMEs, because most of the times they're a very small team. They might be doing a pen test because somebody's asked for it, or maybe an interest-sized client. And that is the time when they're actually looking for a vendor. And if you go out and somebody is telling you that we can give you a vulnerability pen test report, within a week, you will have the report that actually is a scam. But this company is now thinking, oh, we've got a pen test report, which is actually not. So I think the market still needs a bit of education, and at least in the SMEs and startup space, which I am thinking of doing something as well, but maybe in the new year.
Going back to the journey of you as a founder, what was there that maybe surprised you early on that you didn't expect?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, the community is very, very important. I think very early on when I think I became very fearless early on. And even when people would say not so good things about us or myself, ignored it. I still do. But that helped a lot of people to come to me and said, I am in cyber. If there's anything that I could do to help, I would love to. And sometimes you feel like, maybe they just said it. But I tried reaching out to a few people and said, like the first conversation I was doing, or the first few conversations, at least when I invited a few people, these were the people who actually said, we would love to help. And most of these people then became our early adopters, part-timers, contractors, full-time engineers. And I've got two people who work and are based in Australia. I would never have hired someone in Australia if it wasn't them coming to me on LinkedIn and said, what you're doing is amazing. It's very inspiring. And if there's anything that you ever need, just please don't hesitate, right? So I think I built the team with that confidence, and a lot of the good people who said, I don't know if they were just saying it. I just said, if they're saying it, maybe just try it. So I of course, not everybody said yes, but I think the right people did, and that made us who we are today, I guess.
And what was the most scary part of that journey of being a founder?
When you're starting, Yakub, you're already low on resources. You don't have a lot of the funding. You don't know where the next check would come from, right? And so you don't have a lot of the budget that established players would have to hire full time, or have them hire and not have the revenue coming in. So I started with, contractual roles, asked for help, and it worked out. Because I think at the end of the day, I think at least in New Zealand, the right people, if they give you the opportunity and you do bloody hard, you put your best effort, you go above and beyond to help them, they see it, right? And that's why none of our customers have never left us, because they see that continuously, consistently, you're putting that effort to help them, secure them. Whether it's, helping us, if we can't, then recommending other amazing vendors, right? So I think if you work hard, if you produce good work, people start noticing it. It may take time, but it actually works.
So if people want to find you, where should they go? Where should they look for you?
Cool, thank you. So the website is www.capturethebug.xyz. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so you can find my name, Ankita, Dhakar. I would love to hear from anybody who's interested on starting something or whatever that is that excites them.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for having this conversation and sharing your journey. It's always great to hear the stories from leaders, from founders. Good luck with everything.
No, thank you so much for having me. I love the work that you are doing and leading Tech Waka and Beacon, and I hope I can contribute future as well. Thank you.
That was Ankita Dhakar, founder, CEO, and a brilliant example of quiet persistence and bold thinking in New Zealand's tech leadership space. If this episode made you think differently about security, startups, or resilience, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the Tech Waka podcast and join our newsletter on LinkedIn for more real stories from real leaders. And a big thanks to our sponsor, Wired and Crossed, lifting the standard of software delivery across New Zealand and beyond.